Okay, I mean, like, Dexi, what would you do with, like, $60 billion?
Why that so much? I would probably, like, go to Japan,
Mm-hmm.
Probably blow all the money on cosplay stuff, but, I mean, I would do a lot of things with that much money. I could get front row seat tickets to Stray Kids concerts, like, 5 times without having to worry about the fact that they're, like, $1,000. I don't know what I would do with the rest, just keep it and brag about it.
Yeah, I mean, also, when this amount came out, it was a big thing, and now when you think about, oh, well, Twitter was bought for $40 billion, it's not much. It's like, oh, I could buy Twitter and still have a little bit left over,
A
but,
little bit. $20 billion is not a little bit.
well, you'd blow a chunk of it on it, so that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair.
If this is the first time you're listening, this is Weeb and a Half. I'm your host, Blake.
And I'm Dexi.
And we're a father-daughter team that talk about all things anime and manga.
Hey, we got a tale to tell where two hearts collide. In this anime spell, father and daughter sharing dreams in the world of Venga. Nothing's as it seems. We've had a half in this journey, side by side, laughs and adventures we won't hide. Join the ride in this anime tonight. We've found a half shining bright.
Hey everyone, before we get into the anime that we're going to be talking about this week, I have a little bit of news. Next weekend we're going to go to the Anime Sneaka convention there in Belton. It's a pretty fun time. We went last year and we had a lot of fun. Dexi went as...
Rin Kagamine from Vocaloid.
All right, and there was actually one other person there, but you had the wig, right?
There was another Rin and a Teto, but I was the one with the wig.
Gotcha. And Addie got his money's worth full of free popcorn. It was one of those, hey, $4 and you can just keep getting it refilled, and he probably went back 8 or 9 times. And my nephew won the cosplay contest. He had pretty much self-made his own costume, and they were pretty impressed with it. This year, Dexi has pretty much made her own costume. I'm just going to let her tell you about it.
I was looking for like a V-neck shirt for the Nami costume, and I remember like searching like absolutely everywhere, and we found one at a Goodwill, so we got that one, and then I used some tape and blue fabric paint, and I painted on the stripes on the front and the back, and then my grandma ordered me a skirt off of Amazon, and then we just put that together. We're currently working on the bracelet.
Yeah, that's taking a little bit of time, but I think it'll look pretty cool once we're done. So, and looking at the thing, there's going to be even more stuff to do this year than there was last year. Like, there's going to be a board game section and actually like console games set up. So I'm sure Addie will be super excited about that. And so we actually applied for press badges to see if we can take some recording stuff. So if we can, that means next episode we're going to probably have a couple of interviews with some of the other cosplayers and things like that. So that should be cool. And so with that, going to just move ahead here. And have you watched anything new this week?
I've been watching more One Piece. I don't know when I'm gonna finish or if I will. I'm on like episode 56, so like I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it soon, but yeah.
Yeah, and we started one this morning, didn't we?
Yeah, season 2 of Dr. Stone. It was nice.
Yeah, you've been wanting to watch that one for a while.
And I was like, Dad, can we watch Dr. Stone tomorrow? And you're like, yeah, maybe. And then you're like, wake up at like 12, so I try.
Yeah, so anyway, in today's episode, we're diving into a classic of the anime world. It was one that really got me into anime when it was coming out, and this was in a point when Cartoon Network was doing the Adult Swim and Toonami. Anyway, it was a favorite of mine when I was getting into anime, and it's a series that blends action, humor, and really some pretty heavy themes with like morality and guilt and everything. And it all takes place in a Wild West world, and it's where an outlaw is on the run from every bounty hunter on the planet because, well, he's got a $60 billion double dollar bounty on his head. So, yep, that's right. We're talking about Trigun and Vash the Stampede.
Am I old enough to watch it yet, or are you gonna make me
Actually,
wait
I
like 3
started
years?
rewatching this last night because I couldn't remember. And that was the other thing I was thinking about with this podcast, because I'm sure if people don't know certain animes we talk about, because this is kind of a family-friendly one or whatever, I would preface whether, oh no, you can't really sit down as a family and watch this. But this one, there is some language to it. I mean, and if there's fighting, but it's not like bloody or gory. So I feel like if you don't mind language, it's okay. It's pretty good. Like I said, it focuses on Vash the Stampede. And he's this guy. It's funny because he's known as this horrible person that has leveled these cities, and like everywhere he goes, like destruction just follows him. But he doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't like to kill people. He's kind of goofy, really. And it's one of those that it just feels like he's accident prone. His character, what made him stick out to me when I was a kid watching it was, I say kid, I was like 18 when I was watching it.
That's legally an adult. You were not a child.
That's true. Was the fact that he did have this horrible guilt of all the bad stuff he had done. And he tried not to do it, but he was just kind of goofy and things would happen. People would get wiped out in his wake and not really for him to have meant to. And he really has a tragic backstory that gets revealed over time. His brother Knives is the antithesis of like Vash's beliefs because he's a pacifist. He doesn't like to fight. Knives believes that humans should be eradicated for the greater good of the planet. The planet's also like a Wild West setting, so there's lots of desert and things like that. And the central thing between the two brothers is that it's an ideological difference, and it really kind of forces Vash to confront his past trauma while trying to hold on to these. And so it gets pretty deep in some.
I would collapse trying to do that. I'd just like die. I could not.
Yeah, and there's some other characters too. The two other main ones in it are Meryl and Millie, and they are like investigators for insurance companies. So that's kind of the whole big thing with them is he's causing all this destruction and they're trying to find him. So because all these people are like, oh, this happened because of Vash the Stampede, and no one knows what he looks like. No one knows him. So
Let's hope it didn't work for health insurance.
yeah. Well, these are the ones that they seem okay. So I guess they could be safe from Luigi. But yeah, back to like Knives. He's his twin brother. They get into it and like you kind of find out where they're from and what happened to them when they were kids throughout it. And I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but it's pretty good. But like I mentioned, like some of the philosophical themes about it are like pacifism versus violence. Violence has its consequences and everything. Like Vash refuses to kill is part of his character, and his pacifism is continuously tested throughout the series because, well, he's worth $60 billion. So everyone's trying to get him. And, especially when he faces horrible people like Knives or some of the badder people, I guess you could say, And it's, it's really kind of asked, it's like, can peace be achieved through violence? Like.
That's just scaring people into not doing anything.
Yeah, or like, is it possible to uphold your morality when survival is at stake? If someone is trying to kill you and you don't believe in killing people, it's all like, what do? You do
what teachers think you should do and say, hey, I don't like that. That's what we're told to do. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, and sometimes, that is a hard thing because it's like, I remember when I was in school, they were like, hey, if someone hits you and you hit them back, y'all are both in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, if somebody hits me, what am I supposed to do if I can't get away from them?
Yeah.
Like, do I just sit there and take it? Because it's like I put my hands up and get punched in the face repeatedly because, oh, well, I don't want to get in trouble because I feel like you should be able to defend yourself in some way and not get in trouble for that. So, like I mentioned earlier with like the cost of peace and everything, and it's like the debate is, whether it's worth sacrificing yourself to uphold your beliefs even when the world seems determined to push you into darkness. So like, they're just pushing him and he's doesn't want to, and that really kind of builds up a lot of the plot in the film. And it made a lot of impression in the anime world when it came out. Like it came out on a manga. Like it was called like Shonen Superheroes or something like that.
Shonen Jump?
No, it wasn't Shonen Jump. It was another Shonen comic book that they had in Japan, and then it got into an animated series, and then Funimation picked it up, and when Funimation picked it up also...
Funimation was there back then?
Yeah, in the 90s.
It's so old.
Yeah.
Compared to like the other anime watching platforms, it's old.
Yeah, because the it was really one of the first ones to have like action philosophy and character driven drama. Like it was so good that it kind of helped popularize the anime in like Western countries. So like with it over here, there was, they had anime for a long time in Japan, but it was one of those that people in America really clung to because that, and also I think it had, what helped it was the Wild West aspect because, people over here love their cowboys and Indians type thing. So
we don't have Indians, so
no,
we have Native Americans or indigenous people.
Yeah.
Indigenous people.
And like, people still talk about it. Like I said, I started rewatching it again just because I hadn't seen it in a long time. So I really enjoyed it. The impact of Trigun can be seen in a lot of later anime series as well that like blend the action and philosophy. Like some of them that they talk about is Full Metal Alchemist.
I've heard of that one.
Cowboy Bebop.
You've told me about that.
Yeah, and both of those have a lot of the same premise there. And I've watched both of them. I recommend both of them. But
am I old enough to watch both of them?
Full Metal Alchemist, yes. A little bit older for Cowboy Bebop. Some of the themes and stuff in there is a little bit more grown up.
What's the difference between Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Story arc.
Okay. I'm like, is there like a difference? Is there like an age difference?
It both takes place with Al and his brother. Like, they're both really good. See, like even with this one, they've redone Trigun and it's actually called, I think it's just Trigun Stampede because, well, he's Vash the Stampede or his nickname in the show or what people call him is the Human Typhoon just because he destroys everything around him. And like in the beginning, when he first meets Meryl and Millie, they don't believe he's Vash the Stampede. They're just like, he's that weird guy that just keeps showing up. And even he never says, hey, I'm Vash the Stampede. But like the first episode, there's a guy, one of the hunters is like, no, that's Vash the Stampede. And they're like, no, you can't fool us. You're Vash the Stampede because they were looking for a big guy with a mohawk. So it's kind of funny.
That's not Vash the Stampede. He's too nice. I am actually the one who blew up that city. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And like, because she's trying to talk to who she thinks is Vash the Stampede and she shows up with donuts. And like...
Is she a cop?
And later right after that, another bounty hunter shows up and they start fighting. So Millie and Meryl start running away on these lizard horse things that they use to get around on. I can't remember what they call them. Yeah, but the whole time like Vash is running along beside them and he grabs the donuts and like he's eating the donuts and he's just like, oh, these are really good. Like it's pretty humorous and
sounds great.
When some of the anime is very expressive compared to now, like it feels like they will in normal anime now, they'll have like the character and then they'll jump to like chibi style if they're doing something or like, do the whole like Super Milk Chan where their eyes get big and the whole, or like, but some of the ways they would draw the characters in this, like... You
said when he was being sassy, or maybe that was a different show, but they would put like the cat face on him.
Yeah, they'd give him like cat-like features when he was being sassy and...
It's great.
Yeah, it's... Like I said, the anime, it sticks out to me. There was a lot that they'd had throughout the years, but that one was one of the big ones that I really liked. And I do recommend anyone out there watching it because, like I said, if you're an adult, it's perfectly fine. If you're a kid, you are going to want to get your parents' permission in case they don't want you listening to cuss words. So,
Dr. Stone has some pretty funny expressions too.
Yeah, they do. Like, it does feel similar in the same way. But
it's Chrome.
So, alrighty. We are going to jump into the next thing here. And this is the quiz time for you. And since you haven't come up with one or anything, it's like I've got one ready to go here.
That's nice.
Yeah. This one is called Villain or Just Misunderstood. And so what I'm going to do is give you a description of the villain of an anime. And then...
Do I know the anime or not?
Yes, I made sure you've watched all 3 of these.
Thank you.
And so that way you can guess. And
You're gonna tell me who they are, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll tell you who they are once you guess and everything. So the first one here is a passionate revolutionary fights to overthrow corrupt governments and create a free world where no one suffers under tyranny.
Who are they? Tell me.
All right, do you,
I don't understand like half the words you said. I have a very small vocabulary.
well, and also I started thinking about this when we were going to the library this weekend. You mentioned how I guess you hadn't gotten to this guy yet.
Oh, One Piece. Oh,
Yeah.
God. Oh God. I just know there's the Marines.
Well, this character is Don Quixote del Flamingo. And the whole thing, it's like, is he a villain or is he just someone who saw the dark side of the world's power structure and decided to take control of it his own way?
Jaden was here. I could just ask him. He'd know. Can you say it again?
Well, with this one, it's like, do you just think that since you don't know him, but just the idea behind it, he's a pirate. He's obviously a bad pirate captain, but he's trying to, take over. I guess he's trying to take over the world.
I mean, you don't know. You don't watch One Piece. You're not down to watch over 1,200 episodes.
Right.
Villain?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to go over that. It's like, because you can try to twist that however you want, but it's like piracy. It's like, yeah, they were just trying to survive, but there's other ways of surviving as well.
I've seen the way he walks. It kind of looks a bit villainy and goofy.
All right. Let's see here. This one it might be a little vague for you, so we'll just see here. And see what you think because there's not a right or wrong answer. It's just whether you feel he's a villain or just misunderstood. Kind of like when you mentioned on Demon Slayer how the bad guys, but when you hear their backstories,
but Rui just wants a happy family.
That's kind of like what spawned this whole quiz thing, actually. All right, here's the rundown of the bad guy. A man wants to liberate people from the shackles of suffering by awakening their true potential and freeing them from the burdens of weakness.
Sounds like Tsukasa. So, Tsukasa wants an army.
And this one, like I haven't watched as many, so I can't get into it with you as much. And maybe since you have watched more, you'll be able to give better insight. But this one was Suguru Geto.
Oh, I haven't seen him yet. I know I've seen him. But can you read what it says again?
It's in the whole thing on whether he's misunderstood or not in the show, and you know what show we're talking about.
JJK.
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yep. A man wants to liberate people from the shackles of suffering by awakening their true potential and freeing them from the burdens of weakness.
Misunderstood? I don't know how to answer this. You could word it differently and I could like him a lot.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the way you put this out. He sounds kind of like a good guy, but really, if you've watched it, he's not exactly the best person in the world.
I know. He works with Mahito. I can't trust him.
Yeah. All right. And here's the last one. And I think you're really going to get this one quick and in a hurry here. A troubled teen rises to power trying to protect his friends and family from a violent world where only the strongest survive.
He's misunderstood.
And who is it?
Mikey.
From?
Tokyo Revengers.
Yep. I mean, that show I feel like really does do a good thing of kind of like pointing out, yeah, he was a bad guy, but, he was a leader of a gang.
And they were going against like the ones that were doing like worse things like Mobius and like other things, yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Like there's that whole trope. If your hero's a bad guy, how do you get your fans or the audience to like him? And
make him pretty and everyone will like him.
The way most people do that is they make everyone else around them worse.
Like Kisaki. He done Takemichi just want a happy life.
Because there's lots of movies and shows like that. And when you get older, there'll be, movies and shows that you've seen that you'll watch, then you'll recognize that trope a lot. And there's actually a lot of movies that are my favorite movies that follow that whole thing to where it's all like, they're not good people. Like even older films, what they call film noir, which are black and white films, but they were usually like gritty detective things. The big thing that made them stand out was there were no good people in those. Like there wasn't a hero per se. It was just everyone had their flaws. Everyone was bad. And, it's something people can relate to. So they do like it. But that was the 3 that I had for that one. Maybe next week you can come up with one and see what you can stump me with, or if it'll strike up any conversations on different points of view there. Because even with the big thing with this is I'll try to do some more as well to where we've both watched it at least or have seen it. So there's a little bit more to talk about and everything. If we both watch it, then that means we can at least
like go back and forth.
Yeah, and it'd be a little bit more
Just
natural.
Watch Demon Slayer then, man. You gotta watch Naruto, Demon Slayer.
Yeah, that was actually one of the ones on the villains was for Naruto.
Was it Orochimaru or Sasuke or Itachi?
Might have been Itachi. I'm not sure
Sasuke's
which one it
older
was. Or Sasuke. No, it was Sasuke.
Sasuke is just misunderstood, guys. He was Persuade. He's fine. We love him.
One of those fan favorites.
Yes, he is. At least I think he is. A lot of people like him, I think.
All right. Well, we're reaching close to the end of the podcast here, and surprisingly enough, we're actually hitting it right where we're kind of wanting to be. So we are getting better, guys, and please just stick with us, and we'll get through it all. All right. Well, that concludes this episode of Weeb and a Half, and we'll catch y'all guys next week. And until then, y'all have fun. This has been Blake.
And Dexi.
And stay weeby.